In Filament Pictures, we believe that an idea is the spark to actual change. Not just the kind of stories we tell, but also we hope that the people who view it, their perceptions change, and in turn, we in some way influence social change. So the question here really is, does this brand of filmmaking, Factual films, does it have a place in our country, the world's biggest dream factory? We make the most number of films in the world. Does it have a place, and should it have a place? So I'd like to show you a trailer of one of the first full-length documentaries I made, and we'll take it from there.
It's the biggest film industry in the world. Bollywood, India's dream factory. Churning out over 800 movies a year. Screens explode with larger-than-life images of fantasy women and superhuman heroes. The more heart-stopping the thrills, the bigger the chances of a hit. As long as it keeps the audience in their seats, no risk is too extreme, even for Bollywood's biggest stars.
It's an unbelievable height, you know, over 100, 200 feet, and you're suspended there in midair over this frightening waterfall, and it doesn't look good at all.
I stood in a film called Dum. I lay down on a railway track with a real train coming, you know, and the train driver didn't know that there was shooting going on. There was a tele lens far away.
But what seems extraordinary feats to superstars, the thrills and spills, the explosions and collisions, is all in a day's work for an army of unknown men, the Stuntmen of Bollywood.
So the film's actually about the stuntmen, who are the unknown faces, people rarely seen on screen, who are basically body doubles to the stars. And we all know the price and the cost of making a film. And if a star had to do a stunt, you would be sure the kind of safety measures that are assured for a star. So we instead chose to tell the story of the unrecognized heroes who go, being body doubles of stars and at great risk to themselves, often without the same safety measures, do the same stunts. The lead character in my film was a gentleman called Habib Haji. I chose him specifically after a lot of research because he had lost his father, who was also a car stunt specialist, during the filming of a stunt. So to me, personally, it was amazing that a son would want to follow in his father's footsteps and do the same things, but he did it with a difference. So we filmed for more than a year. And this was a time that the Stunt Association itself was kind of lobbying for change and wanting certain standard practices to come into place from producers. And I think the film helped them greatly. But in actually making this film, you know, a part of it is, like what ma'am said, the people in your film have to feel like they are stakeholders in the film. You know, you're not just kind of spying on them, or they need to feel that. So I had shot for more than 8 months, amazing shots of, like, you know, behind the film sets where you see stunts go terribly wrong, live action go terribly wrong. And when I would show the footage to my commissioning editor sitting in Singapore, she'd say, you know, you're onto a great film, but I'm not convinced about your main character. And that was true. Habib himself was closed. Every time I spoke to him, he would like answer in 1 or 2 words. He really did not feel part of the film. So at almost month 9, my commissioning editor is like, are you sure? Do you want to really consider changing your character, your main character? And at that point in time, I took a very strange decision. I called Habib over to the editing studio, and I showed him all the rushes. And the thing is, you don't realize when you're making a film, Habib was used to the camera. He was used to the camera shooting him, and finally when the film was out, he was a small little dot on the screen. So he was used to our cameras as well. He didn't realize how we were filming him. So when he saw the rushes, he realized, hey, no, I'm the hero of this film. This is my film. And more importantly, this was a chance for him to pay homage to his father, who lost his life for the industry and to make all these fantasies come true. So from that point on, I had Habib very much a part of the film. He took me to his home. He made me meet his mom. He pulled out dusty albums, which he had not opened for years, which were like a treasure trove of archives. And Habib himself was just different to the cameras, and I got the film that I dreamt that I would make. And this is just as an aside. When he was shooting for Doom, he called me like many years later after the film came out, and he called me very excitedly, and he said, ma'am, I was on the sets, and all these kids in South Africa, they came running to get my autograph because they had seen the film, and they didn't recognize the hero. So, so there is a story to be told in the stories that are not told. And this film had many, 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 many runs on the channel. And quite a few people have actually seen this film. So I'll show you, this film paved the way for my next film. So I'm going to show you a trailer of the next one.
Camel races, grueling contests of endurance, a celebration of survival in the barren terrain of the Arabian desert. But a closer look at the sport reveals a darker side. Small children as young as 4 are strapped on to these huge beasts to serve as lightweight jockeys. Mounting international pressure has forced some Arab nations to ban children in camel racing. Next season's camel races will unveil a unique successor.
I shot at a time that the Sheikh of Qatar had invited a Swiss engineering team to devise a robot that would replace the children you see that were used for many years in camel racing. So in a sense, we actually captured a very historic transition, and it's very interesting what the film actually did. It's a Bedouin sport, so in fact, when I set out to make the film, people were like, how are you, who's like a lady, going to go here where these men camp out in the desert and they're without their wives or anything, and they're not used to even interacting with women? How are you going to go and capture this whole thing? Well, that's another story. We did capture it. But it's also the sport of kings. Camel racing is, it's the prizes are luxury cars, and they're swords, gold swords, and the sheikhs actually train their camels in gyms and stuff like that. So what this film actually did was to capture the whole transition, and not only did the team developing the robot actually get awards, scientific awards, but it also created a lot of pressure in the Gulf countries, where suddenly having children, like Saudi Arabia was still using children in camel racing, suddenly they looked less cool, right? There were sheikhs who were doing far cooler stuff. So soon, by the end of the film, and people had got wind of the film, there were many neighboring countries who also started developing rival robots. So in turn, it influenced the kind of technology that was coming. And many countries actually banned children from camel racing and switched to robots. So, I mean, that is something that we actually witnessed during the course of filming. And now I'll show you a small trailer, much closer to home. This was a landmark film personally for me.
वो पहले टॉर्च ये करने का चालू करके वो चूहे के ऊपर मारना, मतलब उनके आँखों पे मारने के बाद उनको मतलब वो स्टॉप हो जाते हैं एक ही जगह पे. उसके बाद वो विदिन सेकंड में उसको मारना पड़ता है.
13, 14, 15. 30 reds, that is bandicoot only. For night fresh only. Then the muster will be there. Otherwise not. वहाँ से लेकर अभी तक मैंने 28 legs मारा है. Reds. Day and night means along with my team also. और एकदम वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड हुआ था. 1,14,000 मैंने हापकिन भेजा था.
वैसा धार्मिक इससे सोचा जाए तो ये अपना भगवान है, भगवान का वाहन है, इसलिए आप उसको मारो मत, मगर पेट के खातिर मारना ही पड़ता है.
It actually started with me seeing this very small ad in the paper that said 2,000 people had applied for vacant posts for rat killers. So the BMC was conducting auditions for the post of rat killers. And that really piqued my curiosity. I couldn't figure why they would have auditions and what kind of auditions would you have for rat killers. So when I actually went down, I figured out that a lot of the applicants were actually graduates, postgraduates. And to me, in that moment, I knew that this was a story about my city of Bombay. Mumbai, yeah. Well, it was the story of my city because it's the city of dreams, and we have so many people landing up over here, and they shelter their dreams even though they are chasing ways to earn their daily livelihood. And if it means moonlighting as rat killers, they are doing this in the night, and in the day they are chasing other jobs. And it was a fascinating story also because of the supervisor who actually counts the rats. These guys have to come with 30 rats every night. If they have 29, they're not paid that day's wages are withheld. Those are part of the rules. So the supervisor was a Parsi gentleman who dreamt that he would be in the Bollywood film industry as a dancer. And in the end, he said, you know, his father said that this is a government job, it's stable, so you should be doing this instead. And so he justified it to himself and said, yeah, actually, in a way, I'm like James Bond. Even I have like a license to kill. So, you know. So he had this wonderful Baba sense of humor, and there was a lot of, wonderful characters that you find in this city who are gritty and, you know, they go out there and do their thing. So for me, it was telling that story. But then, no channel is going to take this film outright. They don't know what you're selling. I mean, it's like this grisly, grainy footage. It's like strange characters they don't understand. So this is a film I actually set out. I did it, set out making it on my own. We were one of the first documentaries to go for crowdfunding. When we showed a trailer in Cannes, I was very surprised at the MIPDOC co-production challenge. People actually connected to the characters so much that we ended up winning the challenge over there. And this film finally even had a theatrical release in Mumbai, and in Bangalore it ran for a second week, which is better than most fiction films, I think, despite not having a marketing budget. And people are really curious about the film. Right now I'm working on a film which kind of, it uses modern day technology, it overcomes barriers. It's an India-Pakistan collaboration. So I'm working with a Pakistani filmmaker And we are able to do this film partly because technology has evolved so much. So I'd like to show you a trailer of my last film.
Eid Mubarak, I can't see you. I think they come from a part of Lyari which is considered really dangerous.
Here, put it. What happened to the eyes of it?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Beenish and welcome to Radio 1 FM 91. We're talking about Hamza Jafri.
We're gonna tell the government to inform the president that he's been watching CNN from officials.
Can you please aram se just leave the arena slowly? This is like cancel the night just to be safe because of security issues. So we request you to aram se please go towards the exit. Nice and easy. ताकि हर कोई आराम से निकल आए.
When we speak about music, there's one school that comes to mind, the math school, of course. So let's ask Hamza what all of this is really all about.
2 years ago, we started giving free music education to 12 kids from a school in Lyari.
Did you face any kind of problems, and maybe this part of the society?
Yeah.
It is
So these the parents are also, they're also being educated.
जो म्यूजिक को एक बुरे नजरिए से ही दिखाया गया है कि ये गुनाह है, शरीयत में इजाजत नहीं है इस चीज़ की.
कहा जाता है कि मौसीकी रूह की ग़िज़ा है, इसलिए कि हर जिंदा चीज़ में से एक सुर निकल रहा है. तो सुरों को सुनना, समझना, उनको तवज्जो देना, आप ज़िंदगी को तवज्जो दे रहे हैं इस तरह.
कराची का इलाका लियारी तीसरे रोज भी मैदान जंग बना रहा. पुलिस और जराइम पेशा अफराद के दरमियान घमसान की लड़ाई हो रही है. 3 दिन में 20 से ज्यादा अफराद मारे जा चुके हैं और पुलिस हुकाम का कहना है कि आइंदा 48 घंटों में इलाका क्लियर कर देंगे.
The crime situation and violence situation in Karachi, it's just gone completely out of control. So I can't let that stop me. If it means I need to get a guard, I'll get a guard, and I'll still, so I can go do all the stuff I need to do.
So there's a problem. Can't send footage directly from here to India. I can't send hard drives out.
Oh my God.
I know.
This is a film about music and resistance and censorship, which I think today in India, ironically, we are facing the same situation. When I started out the film, it wasn't the scene. There are always stories of hope and people who overcome obstacles to still do the things that really mean something to them. And this film should be out by the end of the year. The reason why I did this film is because I was just following the fabulous music that artists from the whole independent scene that Pakistani musicians have. It's completely free of cost. They had it over YouTube until YouTube was banned. They're highly political satires, very well-made films which are like really funny with a great sense of humor and told with so much creativity. And when I would read the comments below the videos, most of the comments were by Indians. And that got me thinking. It made me think that where diplomacy and governments have failed, music is actually creating a dialogue that we should be having, at least through culture. So this film is largely about that, and it really shows the problem within Karachi itself for these 4 little girls to attend music classes, a simple act of going every week to attend the class, and what it takes to actually go through this journey of self-expression. And finally, I think what is important to all of us, which comes back to the subject, which is whether these kind of factual films, which are shot over like 2 years, 3 years, they're pretty much told through narratives and through characters. But the only difference between fiction is, one, I think they're better. But besides that, I think they're very much rooted in real situations and in reality. And why should we consume these? Why should we really consume these? Why should we be looking for them? I think I'd go to the words of P. Sainath. I don't know if you know who P. Sainath is. He was the editor of Rural Affairs in The Hindu. And I don't know how much, I mean, all of us go to our newspapers to get our facts and our information. It's pretty much what informs our worldview. How much do you see about rural affairs in the papers when we know that more than 60% of India is in its villages? So what we read and we consume is being generated by many interests. And there was a fact-finding mission of which P. Sainath was part of the board before the last elections, where they actually looked into this phenomenon of paid news. And it very much exists, where there's cross-buying and vested interests across media, politicians, and corporates. So what we are reading today as news is really what people want us to read. And the best way to counter it is to go and search for independent sources, people who still want to tell unusual stories and build different perspectives before you form an opinion. So I'd like to end my session on that thought. Thank you.